Imagine this: three women vanish without a trace from their home in the middle of the night. There are no signs of a struggle, no signs of forced entry, only a shattered porch light hinting at something sinister. This is the story of the Springfield Three, a chilling and mysterious case that has baffled investigators and haunted the community of Springfield, Missouri for over 3 decades. On the night of June 6, 1992, friends Suzanne Streeter and Stacy McCall were celebrating their high school graduation. They spent the evening attending various graduation parties, reveling in their newfound freedom and the exciting future ahead of them. They planned to stay the night at Suzanne's house, a place that should have been a sanctuary of safety and comfort. But by the morning of June 7th, Suzanne, her friend Stacy, and Suzanne's mother, Sherrill Levitt, had disappeared from their home on 1717 East Delmer Street. They have not been seen or heard from since. The importance of this case cannot be overstated. It is a stark reminder of how quickly and inexplicably life can change. It has left a lasting impact on the community, instilling a sense of fear and helplessness. The unsolved nature of the case continues to haunt the families of the victims, the investigators who worked tirelessly to find them, and the residents of Springfield. This is not just a story of disappearance, it is a story of unresolved pain, endless questions, and the relentless pursuit of truth. As we dive into the details of this mysterious case, let's explore the events leading up to their disappearance, the investigation that followed, and the numerous theories and suspects that have emerged over the years. This is a journey into one of the most perplexing and haunting mysteries in true crime history. Sherrill Levitt, a 47-year-old single mother, was a cosmetologist known for her meticulous nature and strong work ethic. Her daughter, Suzanne "Susie" Streeter, 19, had just graduated from Kickapoo High School alongside her friend Stacy McCall, 18. Both young women were full of life and looking forward to the future. On June 6, 1992, Suzanne and Stacy attended several graduation parties, celebrating their achievement and enjoying their newfound freedom. The evening was filled with laughter and joy as they hopped from one party to another. After a night of festivities, the two friends decided to stay at Suzanne's house, arriving at 1717 East Delmer Street around 2:15 am on June 7th. They had initially planned to go to Branson, Missouri with friends the next day, but opted to stay at Suzanne's house instead to rest. Sherrill Levitt was last heard from around 11:15 p.m. on June 6th when she spoke to a friend on the phone. She had spent her evening working on refinishing a dresser and was likely preparing for bed around the same time Suzanne and Stacy arrived home. The following morning, friends and family became concerned when they couldn't reach the three women. Upon arriving at the house, they found all three women's cars parked outside, their personal belongings inside, and an eerie silence filling the air. Cheryl's neatly made bed, damp washcloths in the bathroom, and an untouched graduation cake in the refrigerator painted a picture of an ordinary night interrupted by something extraordinary and terrifying. On the morning of June 7th, 1992, the nightmare began for the friends and family of Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall. Concerned when phone calls went unanswered, friends and family started arriving at the house on 1717 East Delmer Street to check on the women. The first to arrive were Stacy's parents, Janice and Stu McCall. What they found was deeply unsettling. All three women's cars were still at the house. Cheryl's blue Corsica was parked in the carport. Suzanne's red Ford Escort and Stacy's Toyota Corolla were in the circle drive. It was as if the women had just vanished into thin air, leaving behind everything they owned. The family dog, Cinnamon, was inside, unharmed but clearly distressed. Inside the house, it seemed like a normal morning. The TV was on, the women's purses were lined up at the bottom of the stairs, and a graduation cake was in the refrigerator. Personal items like money, keys, and cigarettes were left behind. It was as if they had intended to return shortly but never did. As the hours passed, more friends and relatives arrived, growing increasingly anxious. Up to 20 people entered the home, their worry for the women overriding any concern about contaminating the scene. This well meaning intrusion significantly hindered the investigation, as potential evidence was disturbed or destroyed. Amid the confusion, a friend of the family listened to the answering machine and accidentally erased a strange message. Police believed this message might have contained a crucial clue, but its content was lost forever. This mistake further complicated the already perplexing case. The scene inside suggested that Suzanne and Stacy had prepared for bed. Damp washcloths with makeup residue were found in the bathroom, and their jewelry was neatly placed nearby. Stacy's clothes were folded, indicating she had changed for bed. Cheryl's bed appeared slept in, her book turned over on the nightstand as if she had intended to resume reading. Yet, despite these signs of a normal evening routine, the women were gone. Investigators faced an immediate challenge. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no forced entry. The only peculiarities were the shattered porch light and the unlocked front door. This broken light bulb led investigators to theorize that it might have been deliberately smashed to lure the women outside or to create a moment of confusion during which they were abducted. The initial police response included a thorough search of the house and surrounding area, but there were no immediate leads. Posters of the missing women were quickly distributed throughout Springfield, and extensive media coverage followed. Thousands of tips poured in, but none led to the women. Adding to the strangeness of the situation, neighbors reported seeing a suspicious green Dodge van in the area. One witness even claimed to have seen Suzanne driving the van later on June 7th, looking distressed with a male passenger issuing commands. Another witness saw a similar van at a grocery store, driven by a blonde woman, and noted down the license plate. However, this crucial piece of information was lost when the witness discarded the paper before contacting the authorities. A few days later, police received a letter left at a newspaper rack suggesting the use of a ruse involving a gas man checking for a leak, but its meaning and connection to the case remained unclear. Investigators conducted searches across the Ozarks, logging 5,200 tips and working countless hours of overtime, yet the trail remained cold. The case soon attracted national attention. An episode of America's Most Wanted generated numerous calls, but one in particular stood out. A caller claimed to have crucial information about the abductions, but hung up before the call could be transferred to Springfield investigators. Despite public appeals, the caller never reached out again, leaving another potential lead in limbo. By June 9, 1992, the FBI was involved, but even their resources and expertise couldn't break the case. Rumors and speculation swirled, but concrete evidence was scant. The broken porch light, the erased voicemail, and the lack of any sign of struggle inside the house presented a frustratingly opaque puzzle. In the weeks following the disappearance, authorities briefly focused on Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and murderer. Cox, who was living in Springfield at the time, initially had an alibi provided by his girlfriend, but she later recanted. Cox, who was in prison in Texas for unrelated crimes, claimed to know the fate of the Springfield Three, stating they were dead and their bodies would never be found. Despite his assertions, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him in connection with the case. The lack of evidence and the numerous dead ends led to the case going cold. Yet, the haunting disappearance of Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall continues to capture public attention and remains one of Springfield's most enduring mysteries. The enduring question lingers: what happened to the Springfield Three? When police arrived at 1717 East Delmar Street on June 7, 1992, they found a puzzling and eerie scene. There were no signs of a struggle inside the home. The women's cars were parked outside, personal belongings such as purses, keys, money, and cigarettes were left behind, and the family dog was unharmed. This suggested that whatever had happened, it was quick and unexpected. The only sign of disturbance was a shattered porch light. This broken light bulb led investigators to theorize that it might have been deliberately smashed to lure the women outside or create a moment of confusion during which they were abducted. Despite this clue, the lack of blood, forced entry, or any clear sign of a struggle inside the home made the situation all the more baffling. In their early efforts, police meticulously collected evidence from the scene, although the contamination by friends and family had already compromised it. They dusted for fingerprints, searched for any trace of the women, and interviewed neighbors and potential witnesses. Investigators also focused on the voicemail message that was accidentally erased, hoping it might have contained a vital clue. Unfortunately, with the message gone, they were left to piece together the timeline and events through other means. The broken porch light became a significant lead. Investigators speculated that it might have been a ruse to draw one or more of the women outside. This hypothesis gained some traction but lacked concrete evidence to support it fully. The early days of the investigation were marked by intense efforts to follow up on leads, conduct searches, and appeal to the public for any information that might help solve the case. The Springfield Police Department, along with the FBI, logged thousands of tips and conducted extensive searches, but each potential lead seemed to lead to a dead end. Despite the thorough investigation and the significant resources allocated to the case, the mystery of the Springfield Three remained unsolved, leaving investigators and the community with more questions than answers. The search for Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall was extensive and spanned across multiple states. From the very beginning, the Springfield Police Department, along with the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, dedicated substantial resources to finding the three missing women. Over 5,200 tips were logged by the police, with investigators following up on each lead. Flyers and posters were distributed widely, and media coverage helped to keep the case in the public eye. The police conducted searches in wooded areas, fields, and various properties around Springfield and beyond, hoping to find any trace of the women. One specific lead involved a letter left at a newsleader newspaper rack at Smitty's. The letter contained a drawing of the Bolivar Road apartments with the phrase, "Use ruse of gas man checking for leak" written on it. Investigators were unsure of its exact meaning, but it suggested a potential method of luring the women out of the house. This clue, however, did not lead to any concrete evidence or suspects. Another significant lead was the report of a green Dodge van seen near the house on the morning of the disappearance. Witnesses reported seeing Suzanne driving the van later on June 7th, looking distressed, with a male passenger issuing commands. Another witness saw a similar van at a local grocery store, driven by a blonde woman, and noted down the license plate. Unfortunately, the witness discarded the paper before contacting the authorities, losing what might have been a crucial piece of evidence. Despite these leads, the search efforts were hampered by the lack of physical evidence and the initial contamination of the crime scene. Investigators conducted interviews with neighbors, friends, and known associates of the women, including Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and murderer who claimed to know their fate but refused to provide details. Each lead seemed to lead to a dead end, frustrating both investigators and the families of the missing women. Searches extended into other states as tips and potential sightings came in, but none proved fruitful. Despite the relentless effort and the significant amount of time and resources invested, the case grew cold, and the whereabouts of Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall remained unknown. The lack of clear evidence and the numerous dead ends contributed to the enduring mystery of the Springfield Three, making it one of the most perplexing unsolved cases in true crime history. One of the most prominent suspects in the case of the Springfield Three is Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and murderer. Cox was living in Springfield at the time of the disappearances and had a troubling criminal history. He was convicted of the 1978 murder of Sharon Zellers in Florida, though his conviction was later overturned due to lack of evidence. Cox moved to Springfield and quickly became a person of interest in the case. In a chilling interview from prison, Cox claimed to know that the women were dead and that their bodies would never be found. Despite his assertions, he refused to provide any further details, leaving investigators and the families in a perpetual state of uncertainty. Cox's alibi, initially corroborated by his girlfriend, fell apart when she admitted she had lied at his behest. Yet, despite these inconsistencies and his ominous statements, there was never enough concrete evidence to charge him in connection with the disappearances of Sherrill, Suzanne, and Stacy. Another suspect was Dustin Ricla, Suzanne Streeter's ex-boyfriend. Ricla, along with his friends, had been involved in a string of petty crimes, including the vandalism of a mausoleum to steal gold dental fillings from corpses. Suzanne had provided a statement to police about Ricla's activities, which made him a potential suspect in her disappearance. It was speculated that Ricla might have had a motive to silence Suzanne to prevent her testimony. However, despite these theories, no substantial evidence linked him or his associates directly to the women's disappearance. The case also brought forth various theories. One involved a transient man who was reportedly seen in the area around the time of the disappearances. Another theory suggested that the women might have been abducted by someone posing as a utility worker, as hinted by the mysterious letter mentioning a gas man ruse. However, these theories, while intriguing, did not yield any concrete leads. The disappearance of the Springfield Three had a profound impact on the local community and the families involved. Janice McCall, Stacy's mother, became a relentless advocate for her daughter, never giving up hope and continuing to search for answers. The emotional toll on the families was immense, marked by years of uncertainty and grief. The community rallied together, blanketing Springfield with missing persons posters, organizing search parties, and holding vigils. The case drew significant media attention, featuring prominently on national programs like America's Most Wanted. These efforts kept the case in the public eye, generating numerous tips and leads, though none led to a resolution. Today, the case of the Springfield Three remains a cold case. Despite the extensive search efforts, the involvement of the FBI, and the numerous tips received over the years, there have been no significant leads in recent times. The case continues to attract the interest of true crime enthusiasts and is occasionally re examined by authorities hoping to find new clues with advances in forensic technology. If you have any information regarding the case of the Springfield Three, no matter how insignificant it may seem, please come forward. Keeping this case in the public eye is crucial for bringing closure to the families and finding justice for Sherrill, Suzanne, and Stacy. Your information could be the key to solving this decades-old mystery. As we close, let's recap the mysterious elements of this haunting case. Three women vanished without a trace, leaving behind a shattered porch light and a lifetime of unanswered questions. What happened to Sherrill, Suzanne, and Stacy that night? Will this perplexing mystery ever be solved? The quest for answers continues, and we must never give up hope. For the families, the friends, and the community of Springfield, the search for the truth is a journey that must be pursued until the very end. Stay vigilant, stay hopeful, and remember the importance of never giving up on seeking the truth. Thank you for joining us as we delve into the enduring mystery of the Springfield Three.